What's up everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos you will learn how to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and also see where we are looking to buy and sell these cryptocurrencies ourselves. So let's get into it here with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. If we're looking at the monthly time frame, we need to be aware that the monthly time frame is telling us that the price action is bearish, meaning that it should probably turn back and go for a higher low somewhere above the September low back here in 2020. The reason for that is because of the increasing bear volume, the above average overbought RSI condition, and the bearish spinning top pattern coming at the end of a run that was several months long and very parabolic in nature. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't go above this high, but it does mean that it's going to be challenging for us to do so given all of these factors. And so for us to set this as a monthly high, the top here, we're going to need to go below the low of that candle, that April candle. And right now that's at 47K. So if we go below 47K, this monthly high has been set, and now we will look to form a higher low somewhere above the September low down here at about 9,800. So we keep that in mind, and now we go down to the lower term time frames. Let's go to weekly. So as we've been talking about in these videos, the weekly time frame is running counter to what the monthly is telling us. The weekly has printed a confirmed weekly hidden bullish divergence on the RSI with a higher low in price and a lower low in the RSI. This week so far we're seeing increasing bull volume, but in 10 hours and 48 minutes, if we do not close this candle above the open, therefore making this a green volume bar instead of a red, this will be increasing bear volume, and that will be bearish, and it's also a doji candle at the moment, which would then turn this push up in price most likely back down to form either a higher low or a lower low. And so what we have to look for then, if we're anticipating that on the weekly time frame, because this weekly candle closes in about 11 hours, and it's not impossible for us to close somewhere up here, but at this point when we go to lower term time frames, you'll see it's more likely that we're going to close with either a doji candle or a bearish candle. And so we'll look to the lower term time frames now. Well, actually, before we do that, let's say that we do close with a doji candle here, or even a bearish doji candle. What could happen there is we could go down, like I said, and if we go below this blue line, our monthly high has been set up here, and we'll look to form a monthly higher low, potentially in this light blue zone here, which is our main support zone. And if it's not there, then it'll probably be down here at about 19.3. So I imagine if you're looking at the pivots indicator here, you can see that we've kind of been inside of this range, the R3 and the R2. And inside of this range, what we have is probably about 10 weeks, I'm not going to count them, of price action. And if we close above the R3, we'll most likely go up to the R4 pivot here. If we close below the R2, we'll most likely go down to the R1, which is down here at about 37K. So now that we have the context of the monthly is bearish, the weekly is looking like it might be short-term bearish after this weekly candle close. And so let's look at the 3-day time frame. The 3-day time frame is also looking bearish at the current moment, and the reason for that is because you can see that currently we have this low, high, higher low, and then a higher high pattern. But right now you can see that after we went above this high, we've since traded back down below pretty significantly. And so if we close the candle like this, that'll be very bearish for price action. We'll look to most likely go to form a low somewhere below that candle. And the other reason this could be bearish is because if we look at the volume right here, we can see an increase in bear volume here coming off of this high right here. which means that people went short right here in anticipation that we're going to go down lower. And so their stop losses are right above this high. Now, in this 3-day candle, what we've done is we've went up and triggered those stop losses right here, but now we've traded back down below. So what this could end up signifying is the whales in the market needed to fill their positions, their short positions, so they pushed the price up to here so they could fill those positions, and now they're pushing the price down because now they're actually selling it. If that ends up being the case, and big players filled a short position, we're going to see a pretty significant move down off of this candle closing. So we'll see what that ends up yielding, but that's something to be aware of. If we go to the 2-day time frame, it's also not looking very bullish. We have decreasing bull volume here on this rise in price, and this 2-day candle is already looking pretty bearish as it stands. With the decreasing bull volume, it's likely that we're going to get a red volume candle here. It could be an inside bar, which would be the most bullish scenario basically, besides an actual bullish candle, but likely after decreasing bull volume that it'll end up being a bearish candle. So if we see a bearish like inside bar, that would be good for the bulls in the short term, I guess. But more than likely it'll come down and break the low of this previous 2-day candle here at about 55,279, and then we'll be in this dark blue zone again for our second test of it. So this is off of the dark gray resistance zone here that we've talked about as tested once. Move this over for a second so you can see we tested it. Here's the wick. Once, twice, now we're testing it a third time here. So every time you test a resistance or support zone, it gets weaker. So it is getting weaker every time we push into this zone. But we have not pushed above it and closed 2 candles above it yet. And so that makes me still short-term bearish. So let's go to the daily. The daily time frame is looking kind of choppy here. And we see our dark blue support zone here that we've only tested one time. Subsequently, we have risen up and we've made a higher high above this one, but we did not we've already came back down below now, and we're starting to try and form a higher low in comparison to this one. What the bulls need for us to be considering going for a new all-time high at some point in the near future, the bulls are going to need to form a higher low, probably on this dark blue zone, and then a higher high above this gray zone. This gray zone is the main level that we need to get above, and the high of that gray zone is at about 60K. So we really need to get above 60K. So right now we're bouncing off of the daily pivot level. It's kind of hard to see because it's right on that gray zone, but it's this orange line right here. So you can see that we're bouncing off of that, and that level held here for one move up, and then subsequently these 2 candles, like these 4 candles, pretty much just like negated it. It was just like wasn't really respecting it, and now it's starting to kind of respect it once again now that we've had these 2 candle closes above it. So we'll see what ends up happening, but it's looking like all of these, all of these signals are telling us that the price action is bearish. If we do end up getting a push down below this dark blue zone and we close 2 candles below this zone, pushing into this zone would be an area to potentially go short and target the bottom of the Ichimoku Cloud for an edge-to-edge trade. So an edge-to-edge trade is where you're entering the trade on a candle close inside of the cloud on one side of it. Either if we were doing a bullish edge-to-edge, we would, and the candle closes down here somewhere, we would be targeting somewhere up here. But since the price action is above, and if the candle closes inside of it here, then we'll be looking to go short, and we would do that immediately following the close of that candle. So as soon as the candle closes back inside the zone, you're going short, and your target is the opposite side of the cloud. So for the Ichimoku Cloud indicator to turn back bullish, we need the Tenkin to go and cross above the Kijun once again. So we're in this scenario here with the blue line above the red, price above all of that, and the cloud looking green. If we don't get that, what happens is we just kind of chop around for right now until maybe eventually we get inside of the cloud, and then we go down for the edge to edge. Now you can see that the edge to edge would take us below the monthly blue line here that would signify that our monthly high has been set. So more than likely we might even go lower than the cloud after that point. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's go to the lower term time frames now that we've looked at all of those and we have our high time frame bias. The 12-hour time frame, if we look at the 12-hour time frame, this is extremely messy right now, so just give me a second. I'm going to try and clear some of this stuff up. There's a lot going on in here. All right. Okay, so now it's a bit cleaner here. So let's talk about these zones. So now the chart's a lot simpler, right? So we have a simple bull pattern here. We actually did confirm a 12-hour bullish trend change, and you can see the black candle right here would be our support zone. So that's why I had that rectangle on there. So let's put that back real quick now that we know what we're looking at. So this is the main support zone. You can see it's pretty big, but the thing to keep in mind with the support zone is, you know, the price action is already pretty far into this zone, and so the further that the price goes into this zone, the less likely it is going to be that this zone is going to hold as support. Now if we go and push right through this zone and we close 2 candles below it, this will be a resistance zone that I'll look to go short on. The price action right now is just, it's choppy. We had the potential for an inverse head and shoulders, and now we're, you know, kind of negating that as we speak. But for the bulls case, for a little bit of hopium for the bulls, if we look at the Ichimoku Cloud, we pull this up, we can see that this actually looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you're an Ichimoku Cloud trader, this right here is exactly what you want to see, where you want to see the Tenkin, the blue line, crossing above the red. You see the cloud flipping to be green right here, just barely. And then you see the price action and the Tenkin and the Kijun are moving outside of the cloud, and the price is above all of that. So this is actually the most bullish scenario for the cloud, for the Ichimoku Cloud indicator. So this could end up carrying price up. This pattern is like the bull's main hope right now. That and this purple support zone that we've printed, obviously. So the purple support zone is still a valid support zone until we go below it. And so because of the high time frames, I did not want to go long on this. The other reason was because if we look at the RSI, we have a bearish divergence here once again. And so the bearish divergence with the higher high in price and the lower high in the RSI makes me not want to enter that trade, along with the other higher time frames being pretty bearish as well. That 12-hour Ichimoku Cloud is like the most bullish thing that the bulls have going for them right now. Let's look at the 4-hour and see what we kind of got going on here. So the 4-hour, you can see that we went into this yellow resistance zone right here, and you can see that subsequently we had this pretty significant drawdown in price off of that yellow resistance zone. So that zone held pretty nicely there, and you can see it barely touched that zone, and then subsequently we've traded down pretty significantly. So the bulls now, you know, once again, falls back on the onus falls back on the bulls to change the trend back to bulls. So they're gonna have to set a low, high, higher low, and then higher high. They're gonna have to, you know, keep doing that. And you can see that, like, every time we establish a trend, we we have some like weird dump, and then we push up, and then we have a bear trend, and then we push right through it, and then we dump some more, and then we come over here, we start establishing a trend, dump, come over here, we actually do establish a bullish trend right here, we get a little follow through, and now we're getting a dump again. So we're kind of like having this like pretty messy rise up in price, which is okay. It's still rising in price, but it's just not providing very solid entries. In my opinion, maybe some people are getting fantastic entries off this. I mean, the blue zone was still a good entry, and that clearly paid off. But besides that, the rest of the price action has been pretty relatively messy. So we'll see what the weekly time frame gives us. Like I said, what I'm really watching for right now is the weekly close. So whenever it gets to Sundays, I'm always looking at this weekly candle close and seeing, are we going to get, what's the candle going to be, green or red, and then what's the volume candle going to look like, and then what's the actual candlestick going to look like? Is it going to be a doji? Because even if it closed like this with increasing bull volume, but it was a doji, it would still be, in my opinion, more bearish than bullish because of the candlestick itself. So keep that in mind, and I hope that was helpful for you. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already, check out our beginner technical analysis course that we just released on Leutheria.com, where you can learn all the fundamental elements of technical analysis so you can get started trading and investing in cryptocurrencies intelligently and generating consistent profit. We're currently running a 20% off early bird special discount for our early Leutheria community members up through May 20th. So check that out. The link is in the description below, and I will see you all tomorrow. Onward and upward.